What's up? It's Tyle Prince. I have my Pittsburgh gear on. I think I told you guys I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm a hardcore Steeler fan, and we're looking good for playoffs right now. So, shout out to the Steelers. I hope to God they win the Super Bowl, man. It would make my year. But I just wanted to get talk a little bit about startups and how to start your startup in a sense. So, first thing I want to talk about is kind of as a CEO or somebody who's founding a company, don't always think you could do it all. One of the biggest things is humbling yourself and understanding you can empower other people for different roles. And the first thing I want to say is empowering someone to be a lawyer or a consultant in a sense. And I would suggest probably speaking to a startup lawyer in a sense, not really just a general lawyer. There's a lot of lawyers who specialize with startups, and they can kind of run you through some of the factors of how to start everything up, get your tax EIN, what corporation, and I'll get into a few broad details about that. I know how to set up my own corporation, but in a sense, it's always better just to empower another individual. And in that sense, it's always better if I go to a VC firm or if I go to an incubator and I have that point of contact who's handling my business. I look more professional myself in me handling it all myself. It almost seems like I don't have the support around me to be successful. You want to have that good support system with your startup. So I would always suggest speaking to a lawyer and getting them to set up everything and having them represent you in a sense. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about what type of corporations. It's very, very confusing for just a general person just to start their own business. I mean, there's so many different types of corporations. You could set up a sole proprietorship, or basically all the income the company makes is almost as if you're an individual on payroll. There's also an LLC. There's S corporations or C corporations, and what you basically want is a C corporation in a sense. That means that you could go public, you have stocks that could go public, people could buy them, and you generally want to start out with around like 1 million to 10 million stocks purchases. That's just, you could have so many yourself, but you want to be able to have that high amount to be able to sell off to other investors. Sorry, my dog started going everywhere, so I'm back. But yeah, you would want to make a C corporation, and that's a typical corporation. You do get double taxed. They just passed their new tax plan, so the corporation tax actually went down, so you will not get taxed as much in that sense. But this basically lets you lose income or lose revenues or lose profits. Profits would be the word, and be able to use that to override into the next year to carry those losses on, so you don't go bankrupt. And that's one big thing about startups. I mean, companies like Snapchat lose millions and millions of dollars a year, and you want to incorporate this in Delaware. One of the reasons Delaware is because a lot of the investors you'll be working with have just special tax interests, I'm pretty sure, that are in Delaware, so makes your startup look more lucrative to them, and it seems like you know what you're doing. You never want to incorporate any other startup anywhere but Delaware. It's just like the trend, so make sure you do that. And you want to get set up with banking. Obviously, I would look at some local banks. Watch out for business banking, because a lot of business banks have corporation fees and just outrageous fees that you'll be paying a lot of money. And from there, that's when you kind of want to start building that traction and start applying for some incubators and some VC firms and start sending out very well documented business plans, presentation decks. And you want these to be top notch, and you really want to make sure you do have some traction in a sense. Nobody's just going to generally invest in an idea from just an average Joe unless you have phenomenal networking, which I doubt mostly all of you do, but if you have great traction, you show that you have those capabilities of building a business, getting that traction. And traction, I mean by business making money, just expanding and scaling to a bit and showing that your idea works. But if you could prove all that, that makes your startup look a lot more lucrative than just coming up with an idea and hoping somebody invests in your idea. A lot of the startups that are successful, it's more about the operations and how the strategy more than the idea in a sense. I mean, there's a lot of people who came out with Ubers and Facebooks that just weren't successful. And it's because of the strategy and ideas and how they scale it is what builds a company. So you do want to show that you can scale in a small sense. But that's most of the tips I'd give. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask me. I have a general knowledge of how to start up your own corporation. I could give you some suggestions on who to talk to as a startup lawyer. I have a great lawyer. He started up his own startup, made millions of dollars, and then became a lawyer to help out other startups. So he's a great guy, very nice guy. And I just think this video will be very helpful for anybody who just doesn't really understand how to start a business. It's very, very complicated. There's a lot of paperwork involved in it. There's so many different types of businesses, the taxes, everything. It's very, very complicated, and it seems overwhelming. It might make some people back down, but you should never back down from something you want to pursue, and just have that right support system to make sure you're successful. So just want to put out this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, check out all my social media or comment below. Thanks.